Okay, so first things first. I know this is a little late. Unfortunately, most of Friday I was dealing with car trouble. In a nutshell, my battery died and had to get replaced. I mean, I couldn't even get a jump to get it to restart. So that took up most of Friday, and by the time I finally got my car back, I was just so exhausted that it didn't feel like doing much anything else. So yeah, that's why I'm reviewing this on Saturday. Yes, I saw Peter Rabbit. No, not 50 Shades Freed. I figured this was the lesser of two evils. Anyway, yes, this is based on the books of Beatrix Potter, which makes sense because it turns out Beatrix Potter is a character in this film. Well, she's not named Beatrix Potter, but she is named Bee, and she often comes to the defense of the various woodland creatures, including the rabbit family. Peter, Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Benjamin. There's like a lot of running jokes throughout this movie. There's one involving like a quartet of musical birds. They always start singing a song only for something to come along and interrupt it. Like first off, Peter bowls over them because he's trying to break into McGregor's garden. The second time, the Badger character, whose name I don't remember, bowls over them. The next time they get shot down with a slingshot. I'm trying to think what the other one is. I want to say they like run into a window. It's like, yeah. There's also another running joke with a rooster character. It's like every time the sun rises, it flips out. It's like, oh my god, I thought yesterday was the last day. Oh, I should have been more prepared. Oh dear, look, the sun is up, the sun is up. And one time it's because, it turns out, again, because he thought it was the apocalypse, he fertilized a bunch of eggs. And that's the exact thing he said, which basically means, yeah, he had sex with a lot of women. And now he's got like 10 kids. Yeah, there's a sex joke in a movie for kids. Yeah, anyway, basically the plot is the rabbits are doing, Peter and his family are terrorizing a farmer named McGregor, who has a little garden that they keep stealing the various fruits and vegetables from. And McGregor eventually catches Peter and is in the midst of trying to strangle him to death when he suffers a massive heart attack and dies. Basically, this leads Peter to throw open the gates and throw a massive house party. But as this is happening, McGregor's great-nephew Thomas inherits it. And it turns out Thomas is this real neat freak who is like the assistant manager of the Harrods toy store in London. I don't know if that's a real toy store or not. But yeah, he's very like idiosyncratic and like is fixated on making sure everything is absolutely perfect in every single way. And he's gaming for this promotion that he gets passed over for another higher executive's nephew, and basically he flips out, he gets fired, but he also gets news about his great uncle that he never knew dying and him inheriting this property. So what he intends to do is sell the property for a princely sum and then use that to open his own toy shop. He arrives in Windermere, which is where the film takes place, and he immediately meets Bee, and the two become smitten, and they start forming a relationship, much to Peter's chagrin, because, as I said, Bee often comes to the rabbit's defense. And Thomas himself winds up scoring off the rabbits on several occasions. He buys an electrified fence. He buys dynamite to use in the extreme circumstances. But as this is happening, he and Bee are falling in love. The other thing with Bee is she makes paintings, except her original art is not very good, but on the side she makes up these little paintings of the rabbits that actually are very good. Like I said, it's Beatrix Potter, even though she's not formally named that. Anyway, he puts in the electrified fence, but as I said, he slowly starts to build a relationship with Bee. And here's where this movie really takes a sharp turn. Again, for a movie called Peter Rabbit, the more interesting characters in it are the humans. Thomas is played by Domhnall Gleeson, and Bee is played by Rose Byrne. And to be honest, as a couple, this is one of the few plus sides of the movie. As a couple, they do work. Like, they actually have a pretty good chemistry going on. It's one of the few things I can at least say about this movie. Anyway, like I said, eventually Peter and Thomas get into a sort of a prank war because on one occasion Thomas and Peter are fighting, and Peter inadvertently damages one of Bee's paintings, and that gets her to kick him out. So again, they start getting into this prank war. There's a scene where they actually reverse the electrification of the fence and electrify the doors of the of the house that Thomas has been staying in, and so he's constantly getting like catapulted all around. Eventually, there's a big to-do. Thomas finally decides to use the dynamite. And he's throwing it around, and he tries to play it off as Bee sort of witnesses this. As this happens, he had a remote detonator with several sticks of dynamite in the rabbit's burrow, and basically Peter Rabbit grabs it and presses the button to activate the detonator. It goes off, it destroys the burrow. Unfortunately, in the midst of this, it also ends up destroying Bee's house. And this is what drives the couple apart. Thomas eventually sells the home, goes back to London, where he winds up getting rehired by Harrods because it turns out the guy who they passed him over for quit after one day due to, quote, an ear infection. Yeah. Anyway, it's at this point that Peter travels to London. And kind of throughout the film, like, the rabbits talk, obviously. They talk to each other. And they don't say anything about humans, except then suddenly when they arrive in London, it turns out, oh no, the rabbits could actually talk to humans the whole time, and they could talk to each other. When? Why? How? As this is happening, the rabbits back in the burrow back in Windermere try to keep Bee from leaving. This sets up another running joke in the film where they have a deer friend who... every time he sees headlights, just freezes in the middle of the road. He goes, headlights, headlights. One time, this car, a taxi is trying to has come to pick Bee up and move her back in with her mother, and like, so the deer runs in front of it and stops and goes, headlights, and then the driver goes, they're not even turned on. So again, I guess apparently they could have talked to the animals the whole time. Yeah. Anyway, eventually Peter managed to convince Thomas to come back to Windermere. They arrive just in time to stop Bee from going. Basically, everyone kind of comes clean about what happened, including that Peter was actually the one responsible for the destruction of Bee's house, not Thomas. And they wind up living happily forever after, I guess. Yeah. Suffice to say, my expectations were not high for this movie, and it didn't even meet them very well. Like I said, there are parts of this movie I think that work. Unfortunately, none of that involves Peter Rabbit, who is just annoying. His sisters are annoying. They're triplets, and they keep arguing over which one of them was actually born first. His cousin Benjamin is okay in the sense that he's constantly questioning Peter's actions, but follows along anyway until the point where he just can't take it anymore. But that's it, exactly. There's a domesticated pig who's living with the wild animals for some reason. I don't know why he's there. I mean, I guess it's a character from the books, but I'm not entirely sure. Why is he... but it's a domesticated pig. It's not a wild boar, so why is there a domesticated pig living with the wild animals? Yeah. Again, like I said, for a movie called Peter Rabbit, the more interesting characters are the humans, because Gleason and Byrne actually do have a chemistry between them that no one else seems to have. Oh. So, yeah. Like I said, the movie's not very good. I'm hesitating on trying to give this an F, but I really can't. I have to give this an F. Like I said, there were a few good points. I will say this again: the theater I was in was packed with kids. There were a lot of kids, and they talked all throughout much of the trailers and everything. The movie started, they talked a little bit, and then they just shut up because none of the jokes worked with the kids. They didn't care. Like, I think one kid laughed at one joke, and I can't even remember what that joke was. Other than that, the kids were just dead silent, which is not a good example for a kid's film.
Monday.
Better grab your trombone.
The judge is really jazzed.
Today, the museum. Tomorrow, Star Search.
Till a deadbeat hits a sour note on Hardcastle and McCormick.
Okay, it's trailer time. We actually have a few new trailers. I guess that's because this is really the first family film I've seen the whole year, so we at least have something different. First off is Early Man, the Aardman animation effort this year, which is a movie I really, really would have liked to have seen, except it's coming out the same weekend as Black Panther. Good thinking there. After that we have Incredibles 2 again, and then we have Dolphins, the new Disney nature documentary, which shows you about the magic of dolphins, and not at all about how they're the a-holes of the animal kingdom. Seriously, look up actual dolphins. They do a lot of really unscrupulous things. After that we have Sherlock Gnomes. That is the sequel to Romeo and Juliet. Dancing Naked Gnome. Yeah. And then rounding things off, we have A Wrinkle in Time again. Yeah. Okay, so I'm in the early scripting stages for the next episode of the Random Trade Review. That's the Deadpool versus Carnage. But before that, we're obviously probably going to have another Marvel Netflix catch-up sometime in the middle of next week. And then the next film is obviously going to be Black Panther. See you all next time. Hey guys, is there a movie you want me to tackle? Even if it's some stinker like Baywatch or the Emoji Movie or something else? Check out my Patreon at Sleepy Time for Cat Productions. See how you can make that happen.